Good afternoon. There you go. That's good. Hey, I've always been one of the biggest guys in the room. It's definitely hasn't come without challenge. If you met my wife and she's ever told you what it is like buying clothes for me, it's a bit of a challenge. And so if my pants seem a little short or a little tight, you're welcome for the show. But it's definitely had its benefits being big, okay? I played 6 years in the NFL, mostly with the Dallas Cowboys, and it was a good thing. Let's go. It's a good thing, all right? But the fact is I was only actually projected to play 1 to 2 years, and the reason was they said you were too small, you're too weak, you're not fast enough, you come from a small school, you didn't play against enough competitive or enough better competition. Believe me, there was a long list of why I shouldn't be in the league. It was the intangibles that kept me in. Stuff like hard work, good work ethic, being where I was supposed to be when I was supposed to be there, rarely making mental errors, and being resilient. These were the things that kept me in the league longer than I was supposed to be, okay? And in fact, in 2008, I was a backup with the Cowboys as an offensive lineman. That's one of those guys who protects the quarterback, for anybody who doesn't know. And one of our starters went down with an ankle injury, was going to have to be out 8 weeks, going to get surgery. And I'm sitting there thinking like, yes, this is my chance. Don't judge me. This is how guys get jobs in athletics, okay? And I'm thinking, I'm up, baby. Let's go. Let's going to get this. I'm going to be starting for the Dallas Cowboys. Well, I see Coach grab 2 other guys for the role. And I don't know if you've ever had this before, but maybe you have. Have you ever felt like you deserved the promotion or job or the raise, and you saw the boss give that to somebody else? Now, immediately I get ticked off. I get frustrated, and I'm filled with all kinds of emotions. So I go into the locker room, I get showered up and sitting at my locker for a minute, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, ticked off. I'm like, Coach doesn't know me. He doesn't know who I am, doesn't know what I'm capable of. And I'm filled with all this kind of angst, right? But I'm a man of action. I got to do something. I can't just sit there and complain about it. And so I'm like, got to do something. I got to go talk to this guy. And so I marched my butt into Coach's office, and I knock on the door and say, hey, Coach, can I talk to you for a minute? He's like, sure, Cory, come on in. And I come in and I sit right across from him in his desk, and I plop down and I blurt it out, say, Coach, I think that starting job is mine. And he sits back and he's like, okay, you're my backup. If you go in and get hurt, who's going to be my backup? No offense, Coach. All due respect, I'm not going to get hurt. Which we all know, I couldn't tell you if I was going to get hurt or not, okay? But I want to say what I got to say because I want to play in the game. And so he sits back and goes, okay. He goes, well, look, we're going to look at these other guys too. I'm going to go talk to our head coach, and I'm going to let him know that you came to me with this, and I'm going to deal with that first. And I said, cool. I just want my name in the hat. Thank you. And so we go through that weekend, and we're going into this next week, which is the regular season game against the Cleveland Browns. And nobody knows anything at this point. This is Monday practice. We go through meetings. Nobody knows anything, and I'm getting ready for practice. I got my pads on. I got taped up, and I'm just kind of getting stressed out before we call the team up. And our head coach walks out, and he pats me on the back and said, hey, Cory, you're going to start this weekend against the Cleveland Browns. I said, yes, I am. Let's go. Woo! Okay? But the problem is, all of a sudden, I get a lightning bolt of fear that runs down my back. Like I got to back up what I said I was going to do in the first place. Right? Well, I'm proud to tell you that I started 12 games that year. I put a little extra change in my pocket, and I put a whole lot bigger resume out there for the rest of the world to see. Okay? Now, here's the cool thing. Here's the point of that story. I went from being one of the biggest and the best growing up to be very average. When I came into the league, I asked my agents, how do I compare to everybody else? You know what he said? He said, you're very average. That does wonders for your confidence, okay? That I went from being the smallest, or one of the biggest and the best, to average to the Cowboys, who had a larger than average offensive line. So now all of a sudden, I'm one of the smallest just fighting for a chance to play in the league. And maybe some of you guys can relate to that. Maybe you had grown up being the best at something, and now you're just fighting for a shot to be relevant in the next category. And so maybe you were somebody who grew up, you're the best dancer, and now you're just fighting for a chance to get into Juilliard or get into play. Or maybe you grew up, you might even be the best salesman at your job and you got a promotion and now you're just trying to be the best team lead that you can. Or maybe you're still in high school and you're one of the best students. You haven't hit that wall yet. It's coming, I promise, okay? Or maybe even you got all the best dad and best mom memorabilia coming up from your kids and now you're just fighting for a chance to see them. Or maybe you're just somebody who's never been the best at something, but you're just fighting for a win somewhere. And the thing is, when we're trying to level up in our life, resilience is a muscle that becomes necessary to work. Now, that's a funny thing, resilience. It's the ability to get up after you've been knocked down. It's the ability to move forward when you smack into the wall. It's the ability to withstand and continue to move past adversity that's in your life. You know, some of us can be really good at this, but some of us suck at this a lot. Right? Some can be resilient physically, but some could be not resilient mentally. Or somebody could be really resilient at work, but not so much at the house. And so it's different and can vary from person to person, but I want to share this with you guys because I believe that our family home life is a critical element to how resilient we can be in this world. Now, I'm not just talking about parents to children. I'm talking about children to parents, talking about boys and girls. Every facet of the family can develop this. It can lead this revolution, okay? This is a big deal. And so why is this even a problem? Well, we have an over 50% divorce rate in America, with each subsequent divorce having a higher failure rate than the last, with up to an over 70% divorce rate on somebody's fourth marriage. I don't know about you. I'm not here to lambaste divorce. I'm saying nobody steps into marriage or a union like that with the expectation of failure. All right? We have anxiety and depression are on the rise in all categories in the U.S., especially with our young people who have suicide rates that have almost tripled in a 10-year period from 2007 to 2017. That's insane. All right? I don't want that. The American Psychological Association actually said or reports that Americans, over 3/4 of Americans, have reported an increase in stress alone in 2023. We haven't even hit the holidays. Come on, some of you live long enough. You know the holidays is just family destruction all day long, all right? But there's another study that I like from the National Library of Medicine. Now, they did a study that measured the effect of resilience in corporate executives. Now, they measured pieces like well-being, self-perceived stress, and mental health diagnosis. And what they found in the study was that there was a 400% higher rate of depression in people with lesser resilience and an almost 300% higher rate of anxiety with people with lesser resilience. Now, you're probably asking the question, okay, Cory, how does corporate executives tie to the family? Well, this is the cool part to me. In this study and several others similar to it, those corporate executives actually credited their family as the reason for the resilience at work. So any hardship they had dealing with their bosses or somebody else at work, they credited their home life as being the reason they were strong enough to handle it and make it through. And I thought this was really powerful because I am a firm believer that our home life our outside life is a mirror reflection of what we do at home. And now, it's not true in every single case, but effectively, if we're able to make our home life as strong as possible, our marriage, our relationship with our children, maybe our parents, or everybody within that small sphere, we can exude a powerful influence over the rest of the world. Would you guys agree? Yeah. I would love this. And so I want to talk about this a little bit, but I want you guys to realize this is all facets of the family, okay? How do we do this? Well, I got 3 pieces that I believe are simple, critical elements that you guys got to bring to the table when we talk about building a culture of resilience within your family, okay? Number 1, be present. The thing is resilient families, they go through problems together. That means we shut the distractions aside. We push everything else aside, and I lock in my conversation with you. That means I'm engaging with you. That means we're making eye contact together. That means I'm listening to hear and I'm not listening to say, because I want to support that resilience in your life. I don't want to turn it off, okay? And the thing is when we're present with each other, we communicate more effectively. And when we communicate more effectively, we feel connected. and we feel respected. And those are the elements that end up supporting that resilience to make it through to the next piece that we need to get to. So be present. Number two is we got to be flexible. Resilient families work around problems, all right? They don't stay rigid. And what I mean is I'm not saying don't change your values. I'm not saying change your values every 2 seconds, okay? I'm saying just be flexible in the way you're solving the issue that's coming into your family. And so one of the traits of a lesser resilient person is their inability to adapt to a new environment or a new process. And so I love, there's an old proverb that says life and death is in the power of the tongue. And so if I speak that flexibility or I speak that into my life, there will be that in my life, right? And so I love it because if you've ever been a new parent before, tell me if you've ever been a new parent and you said, I'm never feeding my kid fast food. Or I'm never giving my kid an iPad or a phone at the table. We've all been there, right? Until you absolutely need to get people fed and have a little bit of peace in your life just for a minute. We got to be flexible at some point, okay? So be present, be flexible, and number 3 is be meaningful. Man, resilient people, they find meaning in their pain. They find purpose in their pain. And that meaning, when they go into these hardships, all of a sudden carries them past the hardships and gives them reason enough to move beyond it. And I love this because that old proverb that I told you is life and death is in the power of the tongue. That means when I speak meaning into my life, there will be meaning into my life. I speak meaning into my family, there will be meaning into my family. I joke with my wife, say, babe, you ever leave me, I'm coming with. The fact of the matter, babe, okay? You get sick of me, buckle up, buttercup. I'm coming with you. We're in this for the long haul, okay? And it's funny we say that, but the thing is every hardship that we've gone through our marriage has brought us closer and stronger because we found meaning and deeper context in those problems. And every problem we've walked through, and it might be through the loss of a child, or the loss of a loved one, or hardship with a loved one. Come on, anybody deal with families or been married longer than 2 seconds, okay? And every time we've gone through that, we've had to find the meaning in that, and it's brought a deeper level of connection between us. And so we've grown stronger and way more resilient as a family because we've been meaningful in that relationship. Now, here's the deal. Strength is only built from the breaking down and rebuilding of muscle. Resilience is the same way. The more issues we go through, sometimes it beats us down to the ground and feels like we can't get up. But when you get up and you face it again and again, you get stronger. And if you remember those 3 simple points, be present, be flexible, and be meaningful, your family will make it through every storm, I promise. So there was a few years back, our girl Grace, she was about 4 years old. She's the best. I make her lift weights with me so she can rip the throat out of some dude who walks and tries to rub up on her, okay? And I had a surgery. I had to get this surgery, and there was a lot of things going on. If you guys know, athletes get a lot of surgeries. But I remember coming home one night, and I was just like, man, I want to start speaking powerful words into my girl. I just need her to be strong. Anybody need a strong lady in their life? I want her to be strong. And so she was about 4 years old. We would pray, and we would kiss and love and say goodnight every night. And I just decided to do this one night. And so she's in her like little half crib with the escape hatch thing out the side. And I'm kneeling down over her, putting her to bed. And I said, baby, tell me you're tough. And she's like, I'm so tough. I'm like, tell me you're strong. She's like, I'm so strong. Tell me you're beautiful. She says, I'm so beautiful. And tell me you're smart. She says, I'm so smart. Daddy loves you. Daddy loves me. Mama loves you. Mama loves me. And we did this for a long time. And there's a lot of times she repeated it back. There's a lot of times she would just laugh and not listen to me at all, okay? And I look back on it, and I was like, man, what a good time I had to be present with my girl. What a good time I had to be present and engage and shut everything aside and just be daddy and daughter. And also what a time I had to be flexible, because how many kids do you know listen to everything you tell them to do? Come on, baby. And then what was funny is this surgery that I had to come and get, not long after that, I was waking up from the anesthesia, and I remember I'm sitting in the recovery bed, half drunk from these drugs, And my wife, Megan, is sitting over here with Grace in her lap on the side. And I remember hearing her say, "What's wrong with Dada?" And I hear Megan tell her, "Well, the doctor fixed him. He's just in some pain." And she goes, "Can I sit with Dada?" And I'm sitting here like, "Come here, babe," right? And she crawls up into the bed, and she leans into my ear and says, "Dada, you're so strong." And I got a picture of it right here. This is my girl. And I'll tell you, if that wasn't a branding moment for me as a dad, that in a moment of weakness, all of a sudden she filled my cup, that I found the words that I was speaking into her coming back to me, and that all of a sudden the pain that I was in that moment, she found meaning in. And it made me stronger and more resilient as a father, I can tell you that right now. And I want to encourage you guys and ask you the question here: how are you speaking into the people in your life? How are you building your family for when winter comes? Because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You guys feel me on that one? How are you building them up for when your kids have to face their first heartache? Or when they don't get into the college that they want to? Or when your parents have to go into a nursing home potentially or lose their spouse? How are you building the people up in your life for when they have to run into these hard walls? Because it's a matter of if, not when, right? And it's going to show up at some point. But I tell you what, I want to be the one who's strong enough to be able to handle it and gain and be stronger because of it. Are you guys? I want to be that, and I want you to have access to that same kind of potential too. And so I want to encourage you guys here to start today. Don't wait. Don't wait. There might be something that prompted in your mind, but start today. Send a funny TikTok. Send a good, encouraging text message, engage in conversation, somebody, but start building resilience into your family today. Start doing it with your parents, start doing it with your kids, do it with your siblings, your brothers and sisters, do it with your coworkers, do it with your boss, do it with your associates, everybody around your sphere of influence, because building that resilience is going to come in handy.